Free Bears Fan Podcast, episode 91. Like, follow, subscribe, please, before we get into it. Keep it growing. Like I said, this last month and a half has been pretty good with the growth. YouTube's up my ass with the copyright and all that stuff, but we fight on. Um, but yes, today, Shane Waldron was fired. Thomas Brown takes over, and the Bears shit the bed. I don't even know. I don't know if shit the bed's the word, but I don't know if I've been more deflated during a game. Maybe last year, week one, when we got shit on by the Packers. But even then, we kind of fought back at the end. I don't know. Like it's been.
Well, what it is your confidence in the franchise is kind of just faltered, and it starts at the top. It just seems like I don't know. I sent you a message earlier. I sent you a text earlier because we were talking about it with the whole Waldron firing and everything else like that. This is Matt Eberflus's fifth coordinator in 2.5 years. Like he fired Aaron Glenn last year because of the whole supposed pedophile thing. I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but that was the whole rumor and everything else like that. And
Yeah,
then, Eric Washington takes over. He hired Luke Getzey, fired Luke Getzey,
guess he's
hired,
been fired again as
yeah,
well.
hired Shane Waldron. Didn't even last an entire season. And now Thomas Brown. This franchise is in flux right now. It's in crisis. It's been very humbling, I guess. We were all hyped up and everything else like that, but you and I talked about it earlier before the season started. You're gonna have to show me that you're not the same old Bears. And they're the same old Bears. This franchise is a piss poor franchise, and it's Kevin Warren's not doing anything to change to change things. Ryan Poles isn't doing anything to change things. The fact that, and this is according to Tom Pelissero, as well as Adam Schefter. So Adam Schefter reports that Matty Eberflus's job now rests firmly in the hands of Thomas. What's his name? Thomas Brown, right?
Yeah,
So if the offense turns around, they win some games. The offense looks better. Caleb looks better. Eberflus probably stays. This is according to Adam Schefter, mind you. This isn't just some bum on X
yeah.
that's saying this. This is Adam Schefter saying this. Tom Pelissero, who broke the news in the first place about Shane Waldron being fired, also says that the initial plan from Matt Eberflus was to keep Waldron on and just move him upstairs into the booth. The fact that that was even a consideration should have cost Eberflus his job. It took veteran players and veteran leaders to say, no, we want him out of here. And then on top of that, some of these veteran players that were saying that they want to change an offensive coordinator to get Shane Waldron out were also saying that they want Tyson Bagent to start over Caleb Williams. I'm sure there's a lineup of people who you could possibly think of who would say that based on body language. DJ Moore. I would like to think he's not one of them guys, but he's like the prime suspect number one when it comes to it. And I understand everybody's frustrated on
Maybe
offense
Cole
because
Komet.
offense isn't clicking. It could be Cole. It could be Cole. It could, you know what I'm saying? It could be DJ Moore. It could be Mercedes Lewis. It could be a
I
number of
would say
guys.
I would agree that it's probably. I mean, they said multiple people. I would bet everything that DJ Moore was one of them. Um, but to piggyback off your point you made, and I don't think it just rests in Eberflus. It's polls too. I know a lot of. I have been critical of polls, and I know a lot of it came off as being bitter about Justin Fields, and even sometimes I even thought that, and I can admit that sometimes. But I mean, he's the head of the show. He empowered Eberflus, and it's just a lot of the stuff's going on, and it boils down to not only is the quarterbacks who he passed on for Caleb playing better than him, every single one of the OCs he passed on and let Eberflus pick Waldron are their teams are performing just much better than Waldron was. And it just like you said, we cannot get this right. They can't scheme any good plays up. Yes, I understand the O line's bad, and we were playing our backups, and our starters weren't that good. I understand that plays a part, but that's where coaching comes into play, where you
That's where
have to
scheme comes
scheme
into play.
up
Yes.
6-man blocking, some slants. We got good wide receivers. And I don't know what it is. I don't want to blame it all on Caleb, but DJ Moore had 1,000 yards with Joseph Fields. He's supposed to suck. DJ Moore had 1,000 yards with PJ Walker and Sam Darnold, a mix of PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, or I think that was before them. But like it was like a mix of like Cam with no arm and PJ Walker had I mean, he got 1,000 yards with everybody. Um, Cole Kmet is non-existent. Keenan Allen. I mean, I know he's older, but he had a
He
hundred.
had a career year
Yeah,
last
he had
year.
110 catches, 1,200 yards last year. Like, am I supposed to think that he got a little bit of an injury that he's still been able to play through? And he's just fallen off a cliff. Like it's a combination of Waldron. We've done what we've always done with the young quarterback. We've ruined his confidence. Caleb won't pull the trigger.
He's
He
gun
hasn't been.
shy.
He's
He's a gunslinger who doesn't want to fire
yes,
his pistol.
yes.
He's Wyatt Earp without a gun at his hip.
And
And
he
it's
hasn't been very accurate down the field, so he doesn't want to take shots. And now he's not even, you know what I mean, pulling the trigger on the short routes. He's missing wide open people, and like I said, I understand the blocking isn't there, but there's blame to go around for everybody. And
absolutely. Caleb has his fair share of the blame. He
yes,
has not played
yes, he's a
well at
rookie,
all.
and it sucks. But unfortunately for him, there's three other rookies who got drafted after him that are playing. And I think we can all agree with lesser talent, maybe the Broncos have a better defense than the Bears. But besides that, the Bears have superior talent than all. Like I said, I think as good as Washington's playing, I still think our team is better than them. I think they have a mid to below average O line who's they're being schemed up. Like Waldron couldn't do anything. We passed on Kingsbury. We didn't get Ben. We kept Eberflus instead of getting Ben Johnson, and it's just like I think
Well, we
it's
didn't just
all
pass on Kingsbury. You mentioned it earlier because Courtney Cronin put out the list. It was Cliff Kingsbury. It was Liam Cohen.
yeah,
It
Liam Cohen,
was
yeah.
Greg Roman. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was Clint Kubiak. You know, all these offenses are above the Bears offense in terms of, you know, just points per game, yards per game, literally every offensive aspect of the game. These offensive coordinators are doing extremely well. And it, like you said, it's very frustrating. And you know, we could play the rookie quarterback game and we can blame it all on that, yada yada yada. But you know, the fact of the matter is 18 has to play better. He
Yeah.
he just does. And I know his confidence is shaken. And maybe that's where the veterans are like, hey, put, you know, Tyson in, let him start for a couple games, like Caleb, you know, catch his breath kind of thing. But you can't really do. He's the number one pick in the draft.
And we
He's
weren't
the
the
number
worst
one
team in
pick in
the
the draft.
league. Like he's now Eberflus is coaching for his job. Like basically has to win games. I mean, really, everybody on the staff and the players are all playing for their jobs. Outside of Caleb, he's locked in, and this was our main concern. I didn't no, but the coach, nobody on this team could afford this season to be a throwaway season, besides Caleb. And it's like, but we were supposed to be putting him first. So while Foles was talking about the runway and all this stuff, I just never thought our timetables lined up where it's like we couldn't just throw the season away. He's a rookie and everyone wants to not this season not to count, but it did. We had high expectations. We were a game out of the playoffs last year with a quarterback. We said that his Caleb's floor was better than what Justin Fields had already been doing. Um, so we wanted to at least be a fringe playoff team and it just looks like our season is over. We've got I was reading somewhere our combined winning percentage for the remainder of our schedule is like 700.
70%.
Yeah, like
70%.
the only the only game that even looks like it might become like maybe Seattle. Sam Darnold plays like a pumpkin one game, but we're not beating the Packers have like they're just confident against us. They just know they're going to beat us. And with our line in shambles and Caleb not being confident, coaches being fired, I just don't think we're going to have the confidence to go in and beat the Packers. Their D line, their defense, they get after us for the last decade almost. The Lions definitely aren't going to lose to us the way they're playing right now. And like I said, hopefully one of the games of the Vikings, Sam Darnold plays like shit and we can sneak one out, but we're not beating the 49ers. I don't know. I'm trying to be
Well,
optimistic
that's the
because
thing. I mean, Sean, you say one of those wins you think is possibly Seattle. we're definitely we haven't won a road game, so San Francisco's out of the question. The three road games against our division opponents are out of the question. So realistically, maybe that Seattle game, but at the same time, with how they're playing right now, if they go into the rest of the season, only scoring 10 points a game, and you're always playing from behind, you're not winning another game this year. You're going to finish this season. So Matt Eberflus has the longest losing streak in Chicago Bears history at 13 games. If they lose out, he'll have the second longest losing streak in Chicago Bears history. He'll have the top two. How I mean, how bad do you and here's the thing, and this is just off the field stuff too. We all we praised the whole Kevin Warren hiring and everything like that as president. He now is starting to understand Illinois politics, and it's not as easy to get things done as it was up in Minnesota. So they're not building at Arlington Heights. For some reason, he refuses to build in Arlington Heights. Pritzker said that he's not getting any public funding for a stadium. So now they're turning their attention away from, public funding and redoing the whole Soldier Field thing, the $3.2 billion stadium, blah, 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 blah. And now they're looking at, revisiting a property that they were looking at before at the lakefront that's, smaller in pretty much every aspect. So I mean, everything that was told to us, Sean, from the minute that these guys walked in the door, none of it has happened. It's all been a lie. It's all been a ruse. Where's the stadium? Where's this winning football team? This consistent winner? Where's this taking the North and never giving it back? Like all of the stuff that we were told, and we bought into it because we were fans. We wanted to believe in it because we've been living in such mediocrity for however long. They fired Lovie Smith at 10-6. Lovey wasn't a world beater, but at least we had an identity, right?
Yes.
We were a running football team and we played good defense. That was the last time we've had a head coach that we've had a team with an identity. And,
Poles doesn't care, and I hate to interrupt you, but this goes back again, and I've been bringing it up, and I try not to, but he had a fork in the road decision with the Justin Fields thing. You heard the boos during the game, and you also heard last year what the fans wanted. Have you ever heard them cheering for? And again, I don't know. Like Justin's been mid, but at least we would have had identity. We could run the ball. We would score in the first quarter. We could put some pressure on teams, and his ability to run really made up. It clearly shows that it was just making up for how bad the whole line was. And sure, at times he held the ball and took sacks he shouldn't have. He wasn't amazing. He was mid, but we had an identity. We could run the ball. And if the defense was playing good, we could play complementary football. And again, that's what the people wanted. And now you ignored them. Fine. You thought you knew better. You wanted to move into you wanted Mahomes. You wanted to get into the new age in the NFL. And secretly, of course, I wanted to as well. We wanted, but we all can't have Patrick Mahomes. We all can't do all those things. Sometimes you just have to be a gritty football team and play complementary football, and you can be successful that way. And you take baby steps instead of trying to make the leap to a championship team when we're not even a playoff team yet. And I feel
Mike
like
Tomlin's been doing it for 16 years.
yes, and everybody has all the respect in the world for him, and they just know that fine. If the GM does his job or the players are developed to the point when he has a good team, he'll make a run. But if not, he'll get an identity. He'll coach his team up, and they'll play Pittsburgh Steelers football through our lifetime. Ups and downs, good and bad. The Chicago Bears always play Chicago Bear football. We had good special teams. We played good defense. In the last like half a decade to a decade, that has disappeared. And now we're just nothing. We're just a joke. And at least before, when we were bad, at least we had defense. We're hard hitting. You knew you were coming to Chicago. It was going to be a tough game. We're going to run the ball, and you're going to be in a dogfight. Now it's a joke. You come here and you're getting booed by our own fans. And like I said, what you said, Warren and Poles, they promised us something. We're not getting it. And I thought a lot of my criticism was because of the Fields thing. But like I said, the outside looking in, Poles just has made a lot of bad moves. Like that in hindsight, they just look really bad. He had the really good trade with the Panthers that made him look like a genius, and it really fell into his lap. Lovey helped us out with that one, and just this draft, it's like we got all these weapons. You draft Rome with a top 10 pick, who's been the fifth option on offense.
not by his own fault.
I'm
Roman
not
Tunze
blaming
has
Rome.
been.
I'm not blaming. But what
I
I'm saying
know
is like
he's
that's
been
but
great.
he drafted the play. You don't draft play in the top 10 to be a role like the fifth option. Like I think Rome is good. I think he's gonna have a fine career. Keenan's probably gone after this year, so Rome will have a much bigger role. What I'm saying is like they treated this. I feel like Poles wasn't all in on his own. Like, was this season? Or were we trying to be competitive? Or were we just building? What are we doing? Why do you get Keenan Allen if you were going to draft a wide receiver in the top 10? Like, a lot. Why are we getting these bargain bin offensive linemen when we could have either taken a lineman at 8 where Rome was, or we could have fell back. Somebody else could have came up. We could have got a couple more picks, drafted one of those tackles in the mid rounds, got another lineman in the third or the fourth. The Tory Taylor thing doesn't look good anymore now. He's
Well,
not that good.
it's not even that too. Instead of trading for Keenan Allen, you could have took, some of that $24 million that you're paying Keenan Allen, and you could have put it towards your offensive line. That was your
Yes.
biggest weakness coming into this season was the offensive line,
And
and
we got
instead
two wide receivers, two
yeah,
premium
and
wide receivers, and then we got bottom of the barrel offensive linemen.
we got a
And
$3 million center.
yes, and then traded for a guard, right? And
Yeah,
then
fifth rounder for Ryan Bates,
yeah, and then we drafted no offensive lineman. I'm trying to.
Kieran Amagaji.
Oh yeah, and the fifth.
He was a
Yeah,
third round rookie.
third. Okay, so
Yeah, third
all
round
over the
rookie.
place. It's just like
But he was still a
a
project. He
project, and
wasn't
we
a,
saw
yeah,
him play. He's not ready, and he's not ready.
he wasn't a finished product.
Um, and it's not looking good. And if this doesn't turn around fast, the Bears got set back another what 5 years. I mean, you can't move off of Caleb. He's our guy, and at this point, it looks like they damn near ruined him. I mean, he's already gunshot. Where do you get that confidence back? I mean, honestly, Justin
Well,
Fields never really did.
normally you would, right? Normally would. What do we always say that a quarterback needs for them to gain their confidence back? To play really bad defense, right? That's why Caleb played so well against Jacksonville and against Carolina. But New England was 29th in defensive DVOA, and they scored 3 points at home. There's a problem with
In a
that.
must-win game on so many levels. Like I said, Caleb just got outplayed by Jaden Daniels. Um, Drake May was a guy right after him. Eberflus's job's on the line. Waldron's job's on the line. The playoffs are on the line. Like we had to win this game if we had any hopes of making the playoffs. And everybody came out and did a shitty job. Once again, the defense wasn't that bad, but you can only get so many stops when they're getting 3 and outs, not getting any traction, not even getting in field goal range. So I guess that's the only reason Eberflus is hanging on by a thread, and I guess you could kind of say that's our identity. But we're not like they're not getting takeaways. They're just not giving up a ton of points, getting decent stops, but they're still getting ran on. People are getting yards on them. They're giving up long drives, and they just hold them to field goals. But something's got to give. And I was banging on the table for John Harbaugh, and you see the Chargers. Justin Herbert doesn't have the stats that he used to have, but they got an identity. They're a team. They go. It's like we needed somebody with a little bit of culture, and I think Poles was afraid. He didn't want anybody. Eberflus is his puppet.
It's got nothing to do with Ryan Poles, and I have told you this. It's got everything to do. Mike Ditka ruined it for everybody. Ever since Ditka, the McCaskey family does not want anybody who will overshadow the organization. It's the same problem in Dallas with Jerry Jones. That's why they, hire, yes men. That's why Jerry hires, the people that he hires. You look at
I
Jason
don't know. I
Garrett.
don't think Mike McCarthy. I think
It's
Jason Garrett was. I agree with
it's
Jason Garrett.
Mike McCarthy's the
Mike
same
McCarthy's
thing.
a established Super Bowl winning coach.
It
Like
doesn't matter.
that
It,
wasn't
it,
some.
it,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It does not. He's not gonna. Jerry's not gonna let anybody
Well, I
overshadow
don't
his
think any
organization.
coach could override Jerry. Like who? What coach do you think's got
I'm
big
not
enough?
talking about overriding. I'm talking about
I'll shadow
being
him. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like who?
overshadow
Maybe
him.
Bill Belichick. It's like I
There,
don't know.
anybody with a personality where all eyes are on them. Somebody like a Jim Harbaugh. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
I
Somebody
don't
like
think that
that.
would fit in. I agree that doesn't fit in with Jerry, but Jim
The
Harbaugh's
bit
a McCaskey type. He doesn't
it doesn't.
swear, family man. He is a little bit of a circus, but in a good way. Like he's like it's like a positive thing. Like he's the like I
He
think he
he
fits in
would have
line.
been
Like he'd
he
have been
would have
great for
been
Hard
too
Knocks.
big.
He wouldn't have
He would
split.
have been too big.
I mean I agree that he
Sean,
just
you can say you agree a little bit, but it's literally history. Like this is a proven track record. I'm not just saying this to make shit up. This is a proven track record of the McCaskeys not wanting anybody to overshadow them since the Ditka era. And I'm not talking about going crazy on the sidelines or anything else like that, but a person who is bigger than the McCaskey name, they do not want. They want all the attention to be about them and their franchise. They don't want anybody who's going to be bigger than them on that level. And you, like I said, you could sit there and say how you want. You may agree to disagree. It's just fact. It's
Well,
a
I don't. You
fact.
can't say it's fact. That's just how you perceive. They never said that, so that's just how you perceive what they're doing. So it's not a fact.
It is.
So I don't
If
know.
it's been
Like,
happening for the last 30
yes,
years, it's
but
fact.
them that they don't hire somebody with personality. Yes, that is fact. Why they do it, I don't know why. Like, I
Come
just
on.
no, I just think they don't like the guys in the NFL who have personalities are swearing jerks type of guys. And I don't think they like that. Like we saw in Hard Knocks, they didn't want any profanity. So I don't think they want Rex Ryans or guys like that because even though we've got a history with them, I just think they're foul mouth guys who the McCaskies
Everybody
probably just.
swears. There's not a
But
single
like Jim
coach.
Harbaugh doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yes, he does. Jim Harbaugh
he,
swears. He made.
I would have to see. I don't know. I'm just saying. But
Are
he's the
you
type to
kidding
say
me?
"darn it"
No,
and all
no.
like he's an all shucks
He is a
good old
grown ass
boy.
man.
No, I'm not saying. I'm sure he
He
swears in his day to day
swears,
life.
and I'm
What I'm
sure Matt Eberflus swears, but they edited all that shit out on fucking Hard Knocks.
I don't. Again, I don't. Like I said, I agree that historically they haven't had one since Ditka, but I don't know if like Ditka soured them of it. I just think
Sean,
I
we're
don't. Like I
never.
said, I don't know why. Like I don't think it's this thing where they're like, we don't want to coach. I think with Jerry Jones, that is true. That he wants to be the
You
star.
know who would agree with me on this? The person that you spoke to the other day. I
No,
guarantee you they would agree with me on that.
well, that's not what he said. Well, he just agreed with you with that. We just have no identity anymore, and I think identity comes from your coach. Like it just does. Like
The whole franchise is in shambles. It's just
and and
I don't understand. Like it's so mind-boggling. We were so hyped. We were so hyped, and
well,
already here
because
we
we
are.
were one step away, and they, as much as I didn't like Caleb, didn't want Caleb, and wanted to keep Justin, we were sold that hate him or love him, he's better than Justin. And through these games, like I can't honestly believe anybody who watched Justin play, watched this game this year, thinks that we would have a similar record. I think we would be like 6-3 if Justin was our quarterback.
It's week 9,
I
and the
truly believe
entire fan base is already deflated.
yes, I truly think that if we had Justin, that it might the stats might be different. We might not have blown out Jacksonville, but I think we'd be 6-3. I think him and Getsy, Justin was a fast starter. This year have we scored one time in the first quarter? Like I don't even know.
I don't think we
I
scored a
don't even.
touchdown.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe like 2 field goals in the first. Like at least I could give Getsy and Justin credit. Did we score like I think it was over a span of 2 seasons, like 19 games in a row we scored on the first drive or something like 18 games in a row, or 18 except for when Justin was hurt. Like we can't score early. Then our problem is we can't pass block, but like you said, we're always playing from behind. So we're playing right into the other team's strength. We have to score in the first quarter. This is a scheme thing. You can't script up anything. Like why are we getting paid millions of dollars and you can't even draw up a set of 10 plays to get us a field goal in the first drive of the game?
Well, I mean, we all sat here and kind of were questioning it, but Jackson Smith and Jigba in that interview, warned us. He warned us.
That is true.
He warned us, and we didn't listen because we didn't want to believe it. We thought maybe he was just sour, and I was one of those people. I'll openly admit it. I thought maybe he was just sour because he didn't have
A good season.
the rookie numbers that he wanted. But like you were saying, hindsight's 2020. And
Yeah,
looking
and I
back,
tried to look at it with rose-colored glasses, and I understand the money thing and the judge. And I just at this point in time, people were trying to pat Poles in the back and pretend like this was Madden, but in reality, I don't give a fuck what the cap situation is. I want to win football games. I don't care if you've got to kick the can down the road 12 years like the Saints did, but I want to win football games, and I'm tired. We've been cheering for Poles. Oh, you're making all the right Madden moves. You're doing all you tear down was good. You didn't sign any bad contract. And you know what? That's not what winning football teams do. They sign bad contracts. They pay their guys who are good. Like
I
just
mean, they've signed bad contracts, just not in the way that we
yeah, that's
want.
we didn't.
You know
Well,
what I'm
I'm saying
saying?
it's like the Chiefs got guys on deals. You look at them, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how's this going to work in the future? The 49ers just paid Ayuk. He tore his ACL. They just paid a corner. They're about to have to give Purdy $60 million. It's just like that's the price of doing business. And we made all these moves because the runway and this and that. And I think DJ Moore and the offensive timing isn't the same as, and the rest of the team isn't the same as Caleb's. This was his supposed to be his growth year, and the team was ready to compete, and they just weren't lined up, and that wasn't going to work with a defensive minded coach and an inept offensive coordinator. These things never were going to work, and we passed on Kingsbury, Cohen, Kubiak, and like you said, this season is over. It's what are we, I guess now we're basically rooting for Caleb to just look good and then not get killed. I mean, by some miracle, we somehow win. Like, I, even if we won 4 of the 6 division games, we're still not in. Like, we still have to beat the 49ers probably to get into the play. Like, this season, it's over. And when I saw the schedule, we were talking about could the Bears win 12 games based on how easy the schedule was. I mean, the Cardinals were a little better, but this loss, I mean, we had the Redskins were a good team. We had that game in the bag, even after playing poorly. It's just and
I,
and
I
after all this and all this complaining, Matt Eberflus still has a job,
yes,
and
and he got another opportunity to make hire a coordinator or promote a coordinator or whatever it is. Like I said, he's had 5 coordinators in 2.5 years. I can't remember another coach in the history of ever that has had that many coordinators, at one job unless they've been there for many, 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 many years, like Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, guys that have tenure at their current head coaching positions. But Matt Eberflus has done it in 2.5 years. That's astonishing to me. That's absolutely
I didn't even
that's a
think
crazy
about
number.
that. Yeah, it is. And yeah, and just with hindsight, this all just the writing was on the wall. We were trying to be optimistic, but we all knew O line was the problem, and we let them sell us a bill of goods that if we just got a quarterback who had a better pocket presence and got rid of the ball faster, that it wouldn't matter, that our O line would be fine. And I mean, I would admit, I guess I did my best to buy into it, but we all knew the truth. We made no considerable upgrades, even though we went out, like I said, overpaid Keenan Allen, drafted a receiver in the top 10, then went out and got a punter. It's just like, I don't know. Like, it's just very unserious. Um, it felt like he was making the right moves, but now it just,
Well,
what are
that
we?
and your 2 best offensive linemen can't even stay healthy.
Yes.
Kevin Jenkins isn't coming back next year.
No.
I firmly believe he's not back next year unless he signs an extremely team friendly deal. But so that means you need 4 new starters on your offensive line. You need a left tackle, a center, and 2 guards.
And
The only person you keep on that offensive line is Darnell Wright because he's on a rookie contract.
he hasn't been great this year, but he's okay.
Yeah.
I think Braxton Jones might be fine at guard, but we'll see. Um, but the kid, he wasn't ready. He actually wasn't that bad when run blocking. I thought he did a very good job. But he was getting cooked out of left tackle.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely. The tackle is not. I don't know. Maybe he develops into a decent right tackle.
yeah.
Definitely not left tackle material. He'd be a big guard and a big mauler at guard. I can see that, but realistically, Zach Martin might be available. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
it had to be, and what makes me, it's just like that O line isn't just something you throw a band-aid on and
I
it just
completely
fixed
agree.
either, unless you've got Tom Brady or somebody like that who's established. But Caleb's going to be a a young quarterback again with a makeshift offensive line that we tried to throw together. We don't have anybody waiting in the wings to step up. We didn't spend any premium picks in the last 2 drafts on like or outside of Darnell Wright. Like I just felt like Jackson Powers was out there. We could have got him, even though Smoltz has been hurt. We could have got him. You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't get hurt if he's on the Bears. So who knows? But what I do know is this last stretch of 8 games is going to be brutal. And hopefully Caleb doesn't get killed because he's the future of our team, if you like it or not. And who do you think, before we close it out, who's the top of your list for the head coach this year? Is it still Ben Johnson?
I mean, realistically, for me, right, I've got two names I'm really looking at, right? So Ben Johnson is number one. He's been number one on my list. You know this. I've been a big Ben Johnson supporter since the beginning of last year. I really like what he does with that offense. Even with Jared Goff yesterday throwing 5 interceptions, they still win the game because his quarterback's not afraid to throw the football. You know what I'm saying? And big spot, Ben Johnson still called the right plays, and Jared Goff made the throws. They still ended up winning that game. Is he a leader of men? I don't know. We'd have to find out. They'd have to do their homework. They'd have to do the research. All I know is that there's nobody else. I mean, with Shane Waldron, with the whole resurrection of Geno Smith's career, there were people in the background saying, no, that was Dave Canellis. That was Dave Canellis, who was Geno Smith's quarterback coach, passing game coordinator, while Shane Waldron was the offensive coordinator in Seattle. So, it was Dave Canellis, Dave Canellis, Dave Canellis. And Dave Canellis went to Tampa Bay to be the offensive coordinator over there and kind of proved it because Baker Mayfield had his best year playing quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that led to Dave Canellis getting a head coaching job in Carolina. You don't hear those kinds of things in Detroit, where the passing game coordinator, the quarterback's coach is really the one that's talking up and really coaching up Jared Goff. It's been Ben Johnson. He's a great play caller. This, that, and the other. Blah 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 blah. I don't care if they're an offensive guy. I don't care if they're a defensive guy. I don't care if they're a special teams coach. I care about, are you the kind of guy that's going to come in here and, kind of make things a little uncomfortable for everybody and just be able to hold people accountable? Um, I like Ben Johnson as a play caller. I think he'd be really good for Caleb, so he would be number one on my list, but he has to be able to be one of those guys that can hold people accountable. Second on my list, honestly, I don't even know. Probably Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay, but who knows? Maybe he got soured with the interview process. Being interviewed as offensive coordinator for the Bears before they hired Waldron. Maybe he pulls a Ben Johnson's like, you know what? No, I think I'm going to wait another year for
Yeah,
somebody
I
to
don't
come
know.
open.
I don't like. Do
Oh,
you even want the job? It's going to be a lot of pressure.
yeah, Ben
Um,
Johnson. Ben Johnson, I think, is my number one. What about you?
right now, I'd have to say Belichick. I think we have a crisis identity. I think, like you said, people are being held accountable. I think people are questioning the coach. They don't have a level of respect for them. I think these guys don't know how to hire staff. And as much as I do think Belichick is a little overrated, I think he brings stability. If we can't get Belichick, I think I would be happy with Mike Vrabel because I think he has some of those same qualities where he holds people accountable. And I think Poles and even if Pat Warren has to, they do a better job of pairing him with a offensive coordinator.
I like Vrabel. I like Vrabel.
I think Vrabel's a good guy. I think he's a good coach. I think he got the raw end of the deal. The Titans, they sucked. They didn't have a quarterback. They never drafted well, and he didn't.
I'll give you one name that if this coach is fired at the end of the year, I would probably consider taking over Ben Johnson and all those other guys, and that's Kevin Stefanski. If Kevin Stefanski becomes a scapegoat in Cleveland and he gets fired, I would hire him the next day, the very next day.
I thought you were going to say Brian Dable.
Nope, I would hire Kevin Stefanski in a heartbeat if he got fired from Cleveland and he would be the head coach. Kevin Stefanski got dealt a very bad hand. But he's a former coach of the year. His players love him, and so you already know he's a leader of men, and that culture in Cleveland in terms of on the defensive side of the ball, he's a CEO type. The offense looks good when you know certain somebody isn't playing because Jameis hasn't looked all that bad.
No,
But you know what I'm saying? They have an identity. They run the football. They may not run it very well right now because teams are stacking the box whenever Deshaun Watson was playing, but they have an identity. Kevin Stefanski, if he's fired from Cleveland, would be my number one above Ben Johnson and everybody else.
I don't think Ben Johnson wants to come here now. I think they snubbed him already, and then now he's seen like if when you come in, you not only have the pressure to win right away, you have to make sure Caleb does well.
I don't think he does have the pressure of winning right away because, like I said, that it's always been
We're
they
built
give their
to. I mean, I'm not saying not from the Bears organization. I'm talking about from you know what I mean. Like you're just gonna get shit on in the media. Even if we have a bad season this year, everybody's gonna assume that we're a fringe playoff team again. We still have all the same talent. We might lose Keenan Allen. We're still with DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, a top 10-ish defense. Um, so expectations are going to be high. It's not, and Caleb won't be a rookie anymore, so not a lot of more like, oh, this is a throwaway season.
I don't
I
see
don't know.
that being an issue though. I don't. I just.
I'm
I
not saying
don't.
it's an issue. I don't know. I mean, if you're a good coach, I think it is an issue. Just how I felt like if Caleb was generational and he was the guy, that line would be the issue. I really believe that. Andrew Luck, I mean, obviously didn't last, and that was his downfall, but he looked like a generational talent on a bad
Andrew Luck,
team.
he was such a unicorn. I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, obviously CJ Stroud's taking a step back, but I mean, he's still pretty decent on a bad team. Bo Nix is playing. Like, I mean, is
Well,
this all coaching? Like, at some
well,
point,
what's
got to
happening?
overcome this stuff.
What's happening is this, right? And we kind of talked about this a little bit. At least I did. So every other offensive coordinator that's had a rookie quarterback starting this year has started out with the basics, just short, easy completions, dumbing it down, half the field kind of thing, first reads, stuff like that, and has slowly introduced more intricate portions of an NFL offense as the season has went on. And you see that with Bo Nix. First 2 weeks, Bo Nix was terrible. Terrible. He's got Sean Payton coaching him, slowly putting in more and more stuff that he could take. Jaden Daniels came out of the gate firing because Kingsbury was pretty much designing the offense for his quarterback, where we're going to run a lot of college schemes and we're going to start putting in more NFL offense, as you know what I'm saying, as the season
Yeah,
goes on, and he's gotten better. Even Drake May, same thing. Drake May is getting better every single week. For some reason, Shane Waldron and the Bears were like, oh, this whole generational thing, like you were saying, he can handle it. He can handle it. Let's throw the entire book at him. He can read defenses. He can process. He can do all this. We're not going to try to make it easier for him. We're just going to throw the entire thing at him, and he's going to learn. He hasn't learned. It
definitely
just
not.
so they need to go back to the basics. Thomas Brown, new offensive play caller, needs to simplify the offense, and let's start making those progressions week to week to week to week to week. It doesn't need to all come out all at one time. You have one of the best yards after catch, people in DJ Moore. You have Keenan Allen, who's a good short route
Similar.
runner. You know what I'm saying? You have Cole Kmet, who's supposed to be a rookie quarterback's best friend as a tight end that's not being utilized, and you have a pass catching running back that is also good at yards after the catch. Short, easy completions. Let's get
Yes, I
him in
feel like he's
rhythm.
not thrown to the running back at all anymore.
No.
But that's what the season has become. I mean, unless the Angels take the field, um, we can't make the playoffs. We'd have to win like I mean, what 10 games? So 6 out of the next 8, and that just based
It's
on
not. I don't see it.
based on who those teams are, it just seems almost impossible. So this is about progressing Caleb, and I don't even know the rest of the season. It's just like because Thomas Brown's not going to be here, Eberflus is gone. Like it just seems like nothing. It's like it's like why they might as well put Bajan in there because the only I feel like nothing good could happen for the rest of the season outside unless Caleb, DJ Moore, and Roma Dunze just develop this great connection. But more than likely, Caleb's just going to get battered even more, possibly hurt, and his confidence shaken even more. So we'll see.
All right, real quick before the end of the night, it's Packers week. What's your final
So
score prediction?
I don't even. I almost said something optimistic, but I'm gonna say Packers 28, Bears 10.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning that way. I was looking more
I
like
don't see it. I hope and pray it's gonna be better. I don't like. I just nothing I've seen. I've had all the optimism sucked out of me. I was bitter after Justin left. I got on the hype train. They got it rolling a little bit, and now it's just the season's basically over. We lost. I mean, we basically had to win both of those games, and we got embarrassed after the fail Mary. You know what I mean? Just after we choked the Colts game, it was just like it's Eberflus has ruined the season. Caleb hasn't lived up to the hype, and we'll be starting all over again next year, which doesn't historically hasn't bode well for us.
yeah, it
So,
doesn't
and
strike
like I
confidence in
said,
you.
like that's why again, I don't even know if I think Belichick's the best fit. I just think that's really the only coach I imagine them getting where I would feel like, okay, next year is gonna be, you know what I mean? We're gonna make the playoffs at least. Maybe we don't win the Super Bowl, of course not, but that we would be a competent team that was ready to play. Like Belichick went to the playoffs with Mac Jones. Like I mean, like so I think. I
Yeah,
mean,
but he also the following year shit the bed and had the number 2 overall pick,
yeah. I mean, there.
or like number
I
3.
mean, his drafting played a part of that, but they were just. I mean, they just have no talent. So I mean, eventually you can only coach. Coaching will go so far, but we'll see. Um, like I said, like, follow, subscribe. Tom kind of brought it up before too, but I bumped into Jared Payton. He followed the channel right here, right there in front of me. I showed him it on YouTube. He hit the follow button. He told me to reach out to him. Maybe he was just being nice, but I plan on it. Um, but so keep a lookout for that. We get even if he gave us 30 seconds, it would be more than grateful.
Right.
But again, like, follow, subscribe, keep it up, keep watching, keep sharing and commenting. It's really helping us in the algorithm. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Adios, buddy.